Welcome back to Conversations with Corey, a program where I will sit down with friends or peers to have an open and honest conversation about a topic that aligns with our DE&I value, stand for equality. Whether entering the workforce for the first time or re-entering following the height of the pandemic, a tight labor market and rising cost of living are causing today's job seekers and employees to reevaluate what it means to have a fulfilling career. In today's conversation, I am honored to be joined by Shannon Brown. Shannon is the Senior Vice President of Eastern Division U.S. Operations and Chief Diversity Officer at FedEx Express, which happens to be the world's largest express transportation company. So today we're going to discuss what FedEx is doing, what they're doing to help employees be supported from hire to retire, the entire employee life cycle. We're also going to talk about what the key factors are needed to attract, develop, and retain high-performing talent, specifically talent in minority communities. So Shannon, welcome and thank you for joining me today, man. Before we dive in, so do you mind sharing with the audience a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely, Corey. And before I start on talking about me, I want to thank you and your team. Just allow me this opportunity to spend some time with you.
We're excited to have you.
But just something about me, Corey. Shannon Brown, FedEx Express. December 4th will be 44 years for me.
44 years.
You know, just a young kid out of Memphis, Tennessee, looking for a job. Minimum wage back in, I like to tell young people, with $1.65 an hour.
Wow.
FedEx was paying $4 an hour. So it wasn't a hard decision to say, hey, look, you need to go over here and work. Then I showed up and told the recruiter, she said, what do you want? And I said, I want to be the CEO. She said, well, somebody's in that role. What about package handler? And I said, okay, I'll take it. And then from there, it is, to me, it was just a lot of hard work and the willingness to move from one place to another. And so it's just been a really great journey for me to do things from a guy like me who was raised up in the housing project. And so it told me, one, to build confidence, and two, to say there's really no boundaries for people who really want to work hard and apply themselves.
That's exciting to hear about it. And it's impressive if you think about, because I didn't even realize this, you pointed out the fact that the company itself is roughly 50 years old or so. And you've been there for 44 of it. So you've been there 80+% of the existence of the company.
Absolutely. If you look at all the senior officers, I think everybody is gone from a tenure standpoint, other than the chairman. Next one is me. Wow. So I might be getting a little close to whatever I told that recruiter 44 years ago, but we'll see.
We'll see, right? That is, I should have said too up front, part of the reason why I really wanted to spend some time with you, Shannon, because I think you offer some unique perspectives on some challenges that we are facing at AT&T, and then candidly, not just at AT&T, across corporate America. And that is this conversation around talent. But share with us, if you don't mind, if you could identify a few things that you would say, hey, these are critically important in today's environment, a company's ability to attract talent and specifically diverse talent.
Well, let me just go back to, our founding philosophy, and that's always been people, service, profit. You take care of your people, they provide a great service, generate profit from that great service, reinvest those profits in order to grow the company and continue for them to grow. Because the bigger the company grows, the more opportunities for them to, progress in the organization. And when you look at this marketplace, which is something I've never seen, just really, really competition for talent. And then you look at diverse talent and how do you make sure you're inclusive to all individuals. So we start out looking at a frontline person and said, okay, how can that employee progress through the organization so they can be who they want to be and how can they contribute to the organization? And then we look and see what is the pipeline, because whatever's in the pipeline is what's going to come out. Right. And diversity, you just can't say the day that the job is posted, now we want to talk about diversity. It's too late. And so a lot of work has to be done up front in order to improve the pipeline. And I tell people all the time, my process is a TIE process, TIE, talent, image, and exposure.
Talent, image, and exposure.
So you can have great talent if you're not exposed to anybody that's making hiring decisions. You just have a person that's very, very talented. Right. You can have a bad image, but if you expose to the person to make the hiring decision, you could be somebody that can get hired with a bad image.
Yeah.
And so exposure is the key to it. And so how do we expose individuals to decision makers so they can see that individual and give them feedback and coaching and mentorship so they can prepare themselves so when the job is open, you have a pool of diverse candidates and try to make it a natural process. So I don't try to force fit it, try to make it a natural process. And so just give you one example.
Okay.
Mississippi Valley State, which is a little small 3,000 HBCU in a little old town called Itabena, Mississippi.
Yeah.
It's the home of B.B. King.
Yeah.
Jerry Rice,
Hall of Famer, NFL player.
football player. I think he spent most of his time in San Francisco.
He did.
And it's a farm town outside of Greenwood, Mississippi. So most people really never heard of this little small town. So one of my colleagues, we were trying to get people into our clearance operation. And we can do that really while the plane is flying. So it's a 9-hour flight from Memphis to Campinas, Brazil. And so we can clear packages or provide the documentation for those custom brokers in Brazil to clear the package while the plane is flying. Right. How do we find talent? And we're based in Memphis, Tennessee. And so we said, look, well, let's take our hats off and not look at everything it has to be in Memphis. We went and approached the president of the Mississippi Valley State and say, what if we put an operation on campus? Therefore, the students don't have to worry about transportation. They got everything they need here. And we will refurbish one of your buildings and just put an on-site manager here. What do you think? We can hire 50 people. So the FedEx employees, part-time employees, they have benefits such as what I have. Right. We can teach them how to be brokers and how to clear packages.
So it's almost like an on-campus apprenticeship program.
Absolutely. And so what that does is give them an opportunity to learn something they never thought about.
Right.
Second of all, it give us an opportunity to tap into some talent that we really didn't have access to. Once they graduate, they can go anywhere within the FedEx organization if they want to go into another field. Right. And so it has just been such a successful program.
So no, thanks for sharing that. That's a really cool program. Let's take a step back, talk a little broader. When we talk about, jobs and building careers, fulfilling careers, being able to contribute, make an impact, et cetera. If I look at that, because that's applicable to everyone, right? Every community. If I look at that through the lens of communities that today and historically have been underserved and from an economic standpoint are disadvantaged, how important, how much weight do you put on economic empowerment as being a driver to being able to lift individuals and communities out of those circumstances?
Well, just the way to America in order to be successful is having a good education. That's why I put all those programs in for frontline employees, to try to not just do something from a temporary standpoint, but from a long-standing standpoint. How do I first equip them on how they can grow within the organization? At the same time, providing excellent compensation package from pay and benefit standpoint so they can ease the pain of not having to worry about the time that they're at work to make sure the families are taken care of. And if you can meet those needs, and then you get the broader community to come around it, and that's really what we do with our affinity groups. And when people start understanding that, look, our mission is to help make FedEx successful. Right. And we all have to work with one another to do that. That's what drives success.
Yeah, the employee groups and these employee networks are really key to your own personal experience, right? Businesses can't be successful without it. That's how we outperform our competitors in the marketplace. Let me ask you this. So if someone is listening to us today and they are early in their career, or maybe not even real early in their career, but they're in a position in their career now that's not where they aspire to be. You started off as a frontline employee, and obviously now you are an executive at the company, right? There are other people who have similar aspirations. What advice, what counsel would you give them so that they have a shot of achieving the kind of success you've had in your career?
Yeah, I would tell them, as I would tell any other employee, what are you doing to help drive the business? And my key is go where the action is. Go where the fight is.
Go where the
Go where it's tough. Go where nobody else wants to go. That's what I did. When nobody else would take the assignment, I would go to those assignments. Did it from a personal standpoint, maybe a bit selfish. It is no competition, didn't have to interview or compete with anybody.
Smart.
Made that easy.
Yeah.
2, I could probably have better negotiation skills on pay.
Yeah.
But what it did was I always knew that people run a business, and if I can go in and engage and help people rally around a process and a vision to, it's like you say, every business here to take care of customers. That's why we started the place in the first place, because you had a customer need to fulfill. And if you did that, then I always knew I could be successful because I knew I know how to, build a team and take care of people. And then that's really where the rising star is in the exposure, because everybody thought I was some kind of hero or had some kind of magic. I really didn't, but if you want to believe that, fine with me. It takes people to understand how to deliver excellent service. Everybody want to be on the winning team.
Sure.
Everybody want to be around a winner. And the more you drive that and that success, people will then start seeking you to join their team, because every leader is looking for somebody else to help them be more successful, because a leader is only one person trying to manage a team of people. So how do you build a good, successful team? And that's what I've always done. But go to where the fight is. Go to where the challenges are. And that's really where success is.
So that makes a lot of sense. And what that explicitly says, you have to be proactive. You have to be proactive, right? And so you don't sit back and wait for it to happen to you or happen for you. You go make it happen. What we talk about, what we're starting to talk even more about, Shannon, is impact, right? You define your value in this business not by the size of your organization, not by the number of people reporting to you, et cetera. It's by impact. And if you go where the fight is, that's most times in most organizations, that's where you're going to have an opportunity to have some of the biggest, the largest impact, is where the fight is. So a question I do want to ask you that we don't talk a lot about inside of companies, more times than not, when individuals like you and I are talking, is we're always giving advice and suggesting what employees should do to be successful. And here's some behaviors, here's some leadership traits and characteristics that you have to demonstrate to be successful. And that's good. We should do that. What we don't talk enough about, and I am curious to your perspective on this, because again, you've been doing this for 40 plus years. In your observations, your experience, what are some behaviors you have seen that has caused or led to leaders, individuals not being successful?
Well, again, big organizations are made up of teams. And everybody really wants to be an individual. And if you just say, I want everything at FedEx to work for Shannon Brown, then that's just going to be problematic.
Right.
And if I get caught up in just me and this big FedEx, over 534,000 employees globally, that's just going to be a problem if I get caught up in that. And so when you look at it, okay, I am just one individual. But the big thing I'd say, it is the leader.
Okay.
You can't be a great employee if I don't allow you to be you. And as a leader, back again, when you start talking about diversity, it is, how do I allow people different from me to be them?
Got it.
And not get caught up in what's best for me.
Got it. So customer-centric mindset, team-oriented mindset, and willingness to embrace the other folks on your team who are different from you, learn from them, and then maximize, optimize the talent that they bring to the table. Got it.
That's what diversity is all about.
That's how you get to winning teams. Well, look, Shannon, really, really appreciate the time. and the insights that you brought. I want to tap into that wealth of experience that you have. So I appreciate you spending the time and your willingness to do this for us. I really do. So listeners, look, the audience, I really want to thank you again, too, for tuning in. I hope you walk away like I did with something new, and I will see you next time. Thank you.
To learn more about AT&T, subscribe to this channel, visit the AT&T Newsroom, or watch more videos in the playlist seen here.